This is James Taylor, and you're listening to The Creative Life. The Creative Life podcast is a show created for you, the creative. If you're looking for inspiration, motivation, and advice while at home, at work, or on your daily commute, then this show is for you. Each episode brings you a successful creative, whether that's a musician, writer, artist, designer, performer, educator, or creative entrepreneur. They share their journey, their successes, their failures, their creative process, their insights, and much, much more. In this episode, I speak with superstar vocal coach Gary Catona. He talks to me about working with some of the biggest names in singing, how you have to work with passion and discipline, and his ultimate voice builder app. Enjoy the episode. Hey, it's James Taylor here, and I'm really excited to bring you our featured guest today, Gary Catona. I learned about Gary a couple of years ago, and he was one of the first guys I wanted to have on the show, one of the first guests. And when I was thinking about him only last week, I was watching the BBC, and this phenomenal documentary came on, and Gary was really the kind of star of that, and acting as the voice builder for this particular artist. So I'll give you a quick introduction. He is a huge star in the world of voice building and understanding what it takes to get the most from your voice. The artists that he's worked with, his client list is incredible. It's everyone from Whitney Houston to Andrea Bocelli to Tony Bennett to Babyface. But actually, interestingly, he's also worked with people who are not necessarily singers but want to improve their speech as well. So I know he's worked with one of the co-founders of Google. I think he's also worked with Muhammad Ali, Larry Carlton. It's just an incredible story, and I can't wait to get into this episode. So first of all, Gary, welcome to the show.
Welcome, James. Nice to see you.
So you're always up to really interesting things. So share with our listeners what you've been up to.
Well, what's happening is my journey has led to this very exciting moment in my life. These next few months are very exciting for me. Besides the documentary coming out, I'm having another documentary come out on Whitney Houston that I'm a part of. That's coming out in September. I'm doing a Google Hangout, and I'm giving the biggest voice lesson in history and introducing a song that I co-wrote called My Voice Matters. And the whole purpose of the Google Hangout is for female empowerment, gender equality. That's happening on September 2nd. So that website, by the way, is makemyvoicematter.com. So that and I have a TV show. Well, it's probably going to air on the internet called The Ultimate Diva, where I'll be looking for the next Whitney Houston. So I'm doing a worldwide search to find one person that I think is a true diva. The purpose of that show is to redefine what a diva really means. We have the wrong idea of what a diva is. Diva comes from the Italian, which means divine and goddess, not being not the B word or being spoiled or what have you. So the part of the show is to reintroduce the meaning of diva and to find the next ultimate diva.
That's beautiful, and what I love about the work you're doing is you're so passionate about the voice as an instrument, as a communication tool as well. And I know you come from Italian kind of heritage originally, so I love that the fact that you pulled on actually what the real meaning of that word. Unfortunately it's been dragged through the mud in recent years, so you're kind of returning back to the roots of it. So something I'm keen to ask, and something our listeners are always really interested to know, is whenever I speak to someone that's very successful, whether it's an entrepreneur in music or a music artist or a songwriter, what does the first hour of your day look like? Well,
I plan my day in advance, and I get up and I check my emails and look at my schedule for the day and spend some time just in contemplation about what I need to accomplish for that day, and to get together my energies and try to launch the day in a very positive sense.
And I mean that time that you said in terms of getting your kind of schedule set out, do you go like the evening before? Do you have do you hit the ground running in the morning? Do you already have that kind of worked out the night before?
Yes, I plan the night before. Because you don't, you waste time. And life is about how you manage your time effectively. Exactly. And I think that in terms of being successful as a voice builder or as an engineer or as a nuclear physicist comes down to knowing how to manage your time. And I think that's one problem that people have is people typically waste time.
Yeah.
And if you have a focus, whatever it is, you have to be very disciplined about how you use your time.
So time management is obviously one of your strengths, but talk about what is one of your weaknesses as a voice builder and as a creative person?
Weakness. Well, I'd say impatience. I think all of us that are on the path to trying to succeed, we're always impatient with imperfections. For example, my weakness is dealing with people that don't do what they say they're going to do.
Yeah.
So I get impatient with that kind of thing. So, but in terms of my personal limitations, I have the same limitations of other human beings. I'm not 100% far from it.
And on the flip side, what is a key strength that you feel has contributed to your success?
A combination of learning how to be creative and to be disciplined at the same time. I mean, people think of show business as a place where you go and you party, you have fun, and so the greatest practitioners in the field of entertainment are very disciplined people, and I think people don't understand that. That takes immense, and in fact, it takes more discipline because it's not a 9-to-5 job. After if you have a regular job, you finish it at 5 and you do whatever you want to do. But if you're really on the path to success, you're always on. So it's a matter of being disciplined. And what's interesting is what's fascinating about the road to success is that the seemingly insignificant situation could lead to tremendous door openings for you. So I think that it's hard to anticipate in advance what exactly is going to be the thing that does it for you. So you have to be attuned to your environment and be attuned to what's happening in your life.
I mean, it's interesting. You're just talking about, there's a perception sometimes out there. I think it's maybe changing, but perception that the life of a music artist is all is out partying and everything. But a lot of the artists that you'll work with, these vocalists, because their instrument is their voice, they are their instrument. They have to take maybe a little bit more care of themselves, maybe than other types of musicians. I would imagine.
What I tell people is something. As soon as you hear it, you have an aha moment. A singer is an athlete. That's what a singer. If you play the guitar, the bass, the drums, the keyboard, you're playing an instrument. When you're singing, you're playing yourself. You are the instrument, and the instrument is made up of musculature and the vocal mechanism. So you are not only do you have to play your voice, but you have to build your voice to play it. So when you perform, you're performing the same way as an athlete performs. I think a lot of singers don't understand that concept. That's how many singers have lost their voices on the road. It's like imagine Roger Federer, a tennis player, not rehearsing before he plays tennis.
Yeah.
You got to think of if you're a singer, if you're really a singer, a real singer, think of yourself as an athlete, and you have to work out to get ready for your sport, which is singing.
I mean, that's such a great insight, and I think it may have been on the documentary I was watching that you came out with recently, or maybe something I read recently, just talking about, because obviously the record industry has had a really tough time, so artists are having to tour more and maybe more intensely, do more shows in a short period of time. So that maybe puts additional kind of pressures, especially maybe on the singers in there as well. And you're very conscious. When I hear people talk about you, they talk about you as a voice builder. We hear lots of vocal coaches, voice trainers, and vocal singing teachers. But you really position yourself. You own this phrase of the voice builder. Tell me, what is a voice builder? How do you define that?
Voice builder is somebody who systematically builds the musculature that controls the voice. When you go to your typical voice teacher or voice coach, you'll hear ideas like breath support, sing from the diaphragm, sing in the mask. You'll do lip trills. All these kind of activities don't do much in terms of vocal improvement, even though you're told that they will help. The whole point of vocal training should be to build the musculature of your voice for the same reasons I just talked about. You are the source of your voice. You are the instrument, and the instrument is not given to you. It may be given to you to some extent, but you have to perfect it. So I'd say that what makes a voice builder different is that he's focused only on building the voice, not on these extraneous ideas like breath control and so on, which by the way, breath control and all these other ideas come naturally once you build your voice. It's not necessary to focus on them.
These are great. I mean, these are great gems that you're giving, Gary, and I really appreciate you being so open with your knowledge and your experience. So talk to me about maybe a habit that you wish you had. Is there something, a habit in, something, you talk about strengths and weaknesses, is there maybe a habit that you would like to have in your life that you would like to maybe do a little bit more of?
Well, I think the habit that I wish I had, I'm starting to have more, is giving back more. I've had such great success in my career, and I'm very lucky, but I feel as though that I need to do more to take my ideas and not to leave them among just celebrities, but to take it to the world and to spread what I know. Part of being a teacher, and that's part of why I'm doing what I'm doing in terms of the TV show and the Google Hangout, is I really believe that it's a matter of giving back. And the people that had the greatest responsibility of giving back are those who've gotten the most. This is what I've realized. And I think that if you're a successful person and you're not making conscious efforts to give back to the world, it's a tremendous moral blunder.
Yeah, I mean, it was interesting. I saw a quote the other day from Kevin Spacey. Said, if you're fortunate enough to go up to the elevator to success, you should send it back down.
Otherwise, Kevin.
Oh, do you? Okay, so is there anyone, Gary, that you haven't taught? I mean, you're so kind of you're so prolific.
Forgot Abraham Lincoln, but that's no.
So you're working with all these different clients. You've got the you've got TV shows. You've got the apps. What is the one thing that you're working on just now that is exciting you most?
I would say that it would have to be the Ultimate Diva show, because what it really does, it focuses on the voice as the greatest instrument and as the standard against which you measure everything else. Think about what a voice is. It's an incredible thing. I mean, the voice. Look what we're doing right now. We're using our voices. It's the greatest instrument of communication. It expresses who you are, how you feel, what your mood is, what your intentions are. It's your spiritual nature comes through in your voice, and it's routinely degraded by how we treat the voice in our industry. With auto tune and this. It's taking this magical aspect of who we are and basically raping it and degrading it. So part of my responsibility is to reestablish the voice of what it really is our greatest instrument. It's the greatest musical instrument, clearly. Nothing else compares to the voice in terms of power and expression. And to establish it for what it really is. And I think that my show, The Ultimate Diva, and everything that I'm doing, including my books I've written, all contribute to that effort.
And I mean, I love that. I love the fact that you are going back to some of the roots there and just about trying to find, really to help kind of find new talent and to put the voice in this new position where it's maybe, we've spoken about, the technology is amazing and there's all the other things, but actually going to the central point of the incredible beauty and power that we have both in the speaking and the singing voice as well, and that ability to communicate, and the fact that you're kind of harnessing that with both actors and music artists as well. So you've had a lot of successes in your career, but let's maybe take to a time where you worked at something, you kind of gave it your all, and it didn't work out. And more importantly, what was the lesson that you learned from that experience?
It's funny, when someone's successful, you tend to focus on the success that person has at the present moment and his immediate lifestyle. If you look at my life, it looks like I was very blessed, and I have been. But what this disguises is the years of struggle and the mistakes I made over the years, trusting people, making mistakes. One of the greatest mistakes of my career is I destroyed my own voice. During the early period of my exploration into the voice, I used myself as my own guinea pig. And I tried a variety of techniques on my own voice, and one of which destroyed my voice for a whole year. And it was practicing falsetto with the lowered larynx. And I tried that exercise, and within a few weeks, my voice was finished, and it took me a whole year to regain my voice. So I guess the lesson I learned from that is you have to be passionate about what you do, but you have to be thoughtful. There are lots of people that are passionate about what they want to do, they never succeed because they're doing it thoughtlessly. You have to combine clear thinking with passion, with discipline. It's the only way to go.
I mean, I think that's a great lesson to have taken from. It must have been a very traumatic experience for you as a singer as well, to have to go through that where you couldn't express yourself in that way.
imagine, I mean, I went through 15 different voice teachers.
Wow.
And on my path, and finally I got disgusted because what I was being taught was not helping me.
Yeah.
So finally I pushed it all aside and began working on my own voice. And there I am on my own, and I actually destroy my own voice. At the time, I thought I had destroyed my voice. Mm-hmm. So I went through a period of desperation. Luckily, I found the right process to bring my voice back, and that process has laid the foundation for my system of voice building.
And what's interesting, I've seen some of the clients you've had. You've often worked with them when they've gone through maybe multiple. They've had vocal coaches in the past, or some of them have even had surgery around what they've done, and they kind of come to you like they think they've tried everything.
That's right.
And so how do you approach that as a voice builder when that person's come to you, obviously in a very delicate position, maybe delicate emotional position, because they've lost this thing that they feel is very much part of them, and it's obviously a career for them as well. How do you approach that?
Well, first of all, you have to understand that a person's voice is very personal, and not having a voice, for example, losing your speaking voice, it is often the case a very traumatic emotional experience. Not being able to speak. So when I have people come to me with that kind of problem, it's really, I have to be very delicate with them. I have to be honest with them. Luckily, I've had experience with that, so I can give them a degree of confidence. I can bring their voices back. In most cases, I can help. I brought, the difficult cases I've had, and I've had some very difficult cases: paralyzed vocal cord, throat cancer. I've had a whole variety of people with seemingly intractable vocal conditions whose voices I've been able to help. It's sad to say that people who have vocal problems tend to go to doctors, and sometimes surgery is encouraged, which many times is not the right solution. And in some cases, the voices are permanently ruined. So,
I mean, that must be you must feel that as a huge kind of responsibility as well. They're really entrusting you with something as personal as their voice. Yeah,
especially somebody who's rich and famous, because that's their whole livelihood. And typically people that are successful have very big egos, and they have to have those kind of egos to be successful. But so what I'm doing is I'm literally tampering with the thing that's the foundation of their ego. Think about that.
That's incredible. Yeah,
you're a famous singer. You've lost your voice, and you're having a panic attack. Financially, your family, your wife, your children, the public perception, and you come to somebody and you say, "Save me."
Yeah.
Because without this, what do I have left? And then you have to take that responsibility of getting that person's voice back. And you also have to do something very interesting. You have to take over. When you work with these people, they're very powerful. They're egotistical, and you have to. If you don't take over and command them, they'll never succeed. So you have to convince them, I'm the boss.
Yeah.
Do what I tell you. Don't question what I'm doing, and you'll get your voice back. So that's always a very interesting negotiation psychologically with these people. And
you may be the first person that's acted like that with them, for a very long time. They haven't had that experience in a long time. Someone saying, "Listen to me."
I'll tell you a quick story. Muhammad Ali, one of my first students who had a vocal condition, he said to me, "You're the first white guy who ever told me what to do." And I said, "Well, how about your manager, Andrea Bocelli?" He goes, "He only recommended."
You're just lucky he didn't, just kind of sock you one there and then as well.
So to be a good teacher, it requires talent, but you have to charm, and you have to know how to deal with people psychologically. So teaching is a multifaceted skill.
No, it's fascinating. And tell me about maybe an aha moment or light bulb moment that you had in this journey. I know you initially set out maybe to be involved in opera, and then things changed. And then you moved to LA, and then you kind of really built your career there, working with a lot of these great artists. But talk to me, was it a specific kind of aha moment or light bulb moment in this journey when you felt things changed?
Oh, I've had so many of them. The one that comes to mind first is the person that's discovered me, so to speak, was Shirley Maclaine.
Yeah, great artist. Yeah, amazing lady.
And I had no money. I had no connections. I was living in Hollywood, just getting by. And my phone rings, and it's Shirley Maclaine. She said, "I heard about you through so-and-so. I'm coming over in 1 hour for a lesson." I said, "Are you serious?" She said, "Yes, I'll be there in 1 hour." So she drove from Malibu to my little rinky-dink apartment in Hollywood, She sat down. We had a listen. After 5 minutes, she said to me, "You're coming on tour with me," and that was it.
Wow.
I said, there it is. There's the break that people talk about. It happened to me. Really happened in Hollywood. The American Sex story began. And I went out with Shirley, and she became one of my great advocates. She wrote about me in her book. Through her, I went out with Sinatra, Tony Bennett, Liza Minnelli. It went on and on and on. That was a major turning point in my career.
That's a great story, and obviously you're giving advice to people all the time, and they're very powerful, they're very successful. But what is the best piece of advice that you've received?
You're talking about in terms of success, or in terms of teaching singing?
In terms of teaching singing, or within music more generally.
Experimentation. It's important to experiment. Don't be set on one thing, no matter what it is. You know, you think creatively and write things down, and writing your ideas down on paper, no matter what it is about, is a great way of clarifying your thoughts and helping you set a course of action. Yeah. Because action really is the issue. It's okay to think about what it means to become successful and so on, but unless you put something into action, it's fruitless.
And how do you find that when it comes to working with artists, maybe if they've been singing in a certain type of way and they're known for singing it, and they maybe want to move, maybe it's a different, it's been very common now, a lot of pop singers, they want to start experimenting maybe with jazz and different things. So they're looking to experiment. How do you work with them as a voice builder? Or do you give them the free rein to do that, or do you really focus more on building the voice and then allowing them to kind of go and flourish in that way?
Well, when an artist tells me that, what I say was, let's talk about what it means to go from, say, opera to pop. That's an example, right? And we discuss what are the requirements of being a pop singer. For example, in opera, you use a lot of vibrato. There's a lot of vibrato in the voice. If you're singing pop, the vibrato's most of it's got to go. It has to be used very discreetly. Yeah. So you talk about, well, if you're going to sing this kind of song, you cannot sing a pop song the way you sung an aria. You have to control your vibrato, among other things. So you talk about what are the aesthetic ideals of the genre that you want to go into, and you talk about one problem that typically happens is people want to sing higher than they should. So number one problem that I face with singers is it's almost always the case that they're singing in the wrong keys. When someone calls me, when someone contacts me and says I'm losing my voice, it's almost automatically I will say you're probably singing in the wrong keys. And if you know music, you realize a half step in music, if you're playing the guitar or piano, is not a big step. Yeah. But in singing, it's a major step. If you change a half step in singing, it changes everything. So finding the right keys for your voice based upon your vocal characteristics and based upon the kind of singing that you're doing really is important.
And I find it lovely now when you hear singers. I mean, maybe Amy Winehouse was an example of part of this when they go into the lower part of their register, because so much, especially a lot of pop stuff, is that they're kind of they're pushing up, in the higher parts maybe of the register all the time. And when you hear those singers, it makes me think that Ella Fitzgerald or something, someone that has this, they're missing this beautiful depth, especially the female voice as well. It's part of the reason that they're trying to maybe have the pitch, the songs in the wrong, a higher key than they maybe should. Is that a reason because they think that it adds more power or tension to the song, or is it maybe a decision the musical director's making?
It could be any of the case. But typically, it's an ego thing. People like to sing high notes. They think singing high notes is really exciting. And sometimes high notes are important, depending upon the song. But the point I'm making, James, is if you just change a half step, just changing a half step can make the difference between success and failure. When you hear Ella Fitzgerald singing, or Frank Sinatra, these people, when you hear what you consider a beautiful vocal interpretation of a song, you're hearing the song in the right key. Yeah. Think about what I just said. You're hearing the song sung in the right key. Songs that you kind of go like this one, whatever it is. And there's so many examples of people, professional, great singers singing songs in the wrong key. I'm not going to name any names, but I hear it all the time. Just a half step too much.
Yeah. And it's beautiful. There was a great documentary. I think it was called "The Art of Bennett," or "The Zen of Bennett," or "The Art of Bennett," about Tony Bennett's life.
Zen.
And there's a beautiful scene with his musical director, and I can't remember. It wasn't Ralph Sharon. It was whoever's new musical director, and they're in the studio and they're working on a tune. And Tony Bennett's, I think the tune actually was I think it was maybe more a tempo thing than necessarily a key thing, and it was pushing a bit. And he said, "No, why are you doing this? Why?" And he really could have laid into his musical director a little bit. This is what I know, what is going to work for my voice and what's going to work for the song and work for the performance. And he was confident enough to be able to express that as well.
He was talking to Phil Ramone.
And it was fascinating. It was a really nice little kind of insight. So, are there any online resources that you use that you would recommend to our listeners, whether it's just like a Pro Tools or maybe an app or something, an online resource that you're a big fan of?
Well, I have a few out myself. I mean, for example, I have a downloadable DVD called Ultimate Voice Builder. I have an app called Voice Builder. Mm-hmm. They're very helpful. But I think that people have to become self-sufficient, and really, because people tend to rely too much on technology and so on. I mean, I think that you have to go back to yourself as an artist. A great artist, they have an unusual ability of doing it on their own. So get information from the internet. Listen to listen to people that you really care about, the singers, and try to incorporate what they're doing without imitating. Remember, imitation is not a good idea.
Yeah,
there are many good singers that never made it because they imitated their heroes too much.
Yeah, I mean, I suppose there's that balance of trying to learn. You want to stand on the shoulders of giants, but at the same time, kind of have your own path within that, and give yourself your own kind of expression to whatever the piece that you're singing as well. So
art is deep. It's deep.
Yeah. And I also noticed when I was doing some research about you, as well as your interest, obviously, in the voice and music, but you also have a big interest in philosophy, and I know you've written about this around, especially creativity, which is another subject that we obviously both share a real deep interest in.
Yes, I have a master's degree in philosophy, and I've written a book in philosophy. I've written 2 books actually in philosophy. One's not published yet. Yeah, but philosophy, I think, is probably the source of everything for me.
Yeah.
My whole fascinating, for me, philosophy was learning about the wonder of existence, and what is more wonderful and wondrous than the voice.
Absolutely.
So there's a deep connection there.
And what we'll do is in the show notes of the show here, we'll put all the links, and we'll put the links that I booked this out just now as well. So tell me, is there a book or an album that has really made a big impact upon you, and you would recommend that our listeners check out?
My book.
Your book. Which one is it? The creativity one or the?
No, it's called A Revolution in Singing.
A Revolution in Singing.
It's a really good book about singing. That's what I recommend.
Okay. And let's imagine you woke up tomorrow. You had to start from scratch. So you've got the knowledge that you have now that you've built up over these years, but you're starting from ground zero. What would you do?
Write it down. I'd write a book. Because I'm telling you, the power of the written word is remarkable, because not only does it organize your thinking, but it empowers you to act. Otherwise, everything stays in your mind in sort of a confused, ambiguous way. When you write something down, clarity. Remember, action is the answer, but action without thought will lead you down the wrong path. So I'd say write your ideas down. Make them, write out a manifesto about yourself. What do I want? What I want to do? How I'm going to get there? And based upon your writings, organize your behavior.
So can we look forward to a lot of books coming out in the next couple of years from you about the voice or about philosophy?
Yes, absolutely.
Great. Well, we'll look forward to seeing those. So just finishing up, share the best way that our listeners can learn more about you and the work that you're doing.
Man, my website is GaryCatona.com, GaryCatona.com, and everything's on there.
Great. Well, Gary, thank you so much for coming on the show. I really appreciate it. Fascinating as always. We could have gone on and on and on, because I know you've got some really fascinating insights both about the voice, but music more generally as well. And I look forward to catching you next time I'm in LA.
Thank you, James.
Hey, James Taylor here again. And if you're interested in living a more creative life, then I'd love to invite you to join me as I share some of the most successful strategies and techniques that high-performing creatives use. I put them all together in a free downloadable ebook that you can get by going to jamestaylor.me. That's jamestaylor.me to get your free downloadable ebook on creativity.